Welcome back to Full Circle Florida. Well, there are two ways you can look at this week's debate between President Biden and former President Donald Trump. One, they are two political heavyweights, back-to-back presidents facing off in a contest of ideas for a divided country, facing a fork in the road both politically, culturally, and economically. Or it's a chance for Trump to try out some new insults and Biden can tell him to shut up. Either way, debate one matters more than you might think. Here's my conversation with presidential historian and author of How the Best Did It, Talmage Boston.
I'm the moderator of this debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question.
What do you think about these rules of this debate, and how do they compare to the debates of the past and the presidents that you've written about in your book, How the Best Did It?
Well, the rules are largely the same with the exception of this capacity to mute the other people. And the presidents in my book who were involved in televised debates, John F. Kennedy and Ronald Reagan, there was no need for a muting feature just because everybody behaved themselves. They answered the questions they were asked. Nobody interrupted each other. Nobody tried to scream over the moderator. All the things that happened in the last Trump-Biden debates in 2020, as well as the Trump-Hillary debate in 2016, those were free-for-alls, total chaos. Moderators lost control. And so with this muting feature and hopefully a strong moderator, then in fact, maybe the candidates can talk about the issues in a manner that people can actually understand.
Yeah, civility is a virtue that sometimes is lost in politics. But there's almost been this cliche narrative that these debates don't matter anymore, particularly with these two, because last time it was kind of the grumpy old men show, two old guys shouting at each other. But I would argue that these debates matter more now than ever, because if the moderators do their jobs, this is the ultimate contest of ideas. I mean, it's the fight night of presidential intellect, where the American voter can get a distilled articulation of these candidates' vision for America, and they have to make their case against the real-time headwinds of not only the moderators, but the opponent who's standing 10 feet away, who's challenging their very existence. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think these debates are extremely important, in particular this first one. Obviously, the age of both candidates is an issue. And obviously, Biden is older, and there's been more coverage of his gaffes and wanderings and things that indicate that maybe he's not what he used to be. Trump has had his share of gaffes as well. So I think that people watching these debates are going to be sizing up both these candidates in terms of how strong mentally are they to be able to hold up over the next 4 years. I do think that this is a unique debate in that each of these two candidates has obviously been president of the United States for 4 years.
Who has the most to win and who has the most to lose in this debate?
Well, if Biden stumbles and falls and is unable to be responsive, and obviously he has been extremely fearful of any press conference situations, and that's really the format for the debate is questions being asked as if it was a form of press conference. And so his lack of practice and his unwillingness to respond spontaneously to questions that he does not know in advance, I think he has more at stake. And I think that's what everybody is going to be watching.
And yet he always seems to rise to the occasion when the spotlight is on. Well, Talmage, thank you very much for your insight. Appreciate it. And the book is How the Best Did It. Appreciate it, Talmage.
My pleasure.
All right, let's bring in our political analyst, Dr. Susan MacManus, here with us once again this week. And one thing that Biden and Trump definitely will be debating is their record on the economy. Biden is going to tout low unemployment. Trump is going to point to high inflation under Biden's watch. These are back-to-back presidents. Both, you could argue, had a hand in those competing realities of this K-shaped economy where the haves have it pretty good and the have-nots are really hurting. Who has the upper hand on the economy?
Well, clearly, every poll that you look at shows a big edge to former President Trump. And really, it's the middle people, the people that are most squeezed are not the ones on the ends. They're squeezed too, especially the poor, but the middle class is really hammered at the moment. And what language works best? Not these kinds of terms, prices.
Right. And people feel that every single day. Yeah. Meanwhile, another political constant between these two, immigration. Biden issuing that executive order recently barring migrants who cross the southern border illegally from unlawfully receiving asylum. Trump says the border is a mess, though, that he can do more than Biden will. The truth is, though, Congress had a chance to act. They could have done something to secure the border. They punted on that. Can either one of these candidates look America in the face with a straight face and say, I'm the guy that's going to fix the immigration problem?
Well, they can each point to things that they've done. And on that front also, Trump comes out well ahead. However, Biden made some headway this week with passing that asylum, but also on the immigration, allowing the spouse of an American citizen to go through the citizenship. So Biden gained a few points in the polls, but it's still a Trump issue.
Yeah, showing some compassion while also being responsible about it. Well, perhaps the ultimate measure of how much can change in 4 years. We were saturated with not only the word pandemic, but the reality of what that pandemic was doing. Is that a topic both of these candidates would be better off avoiding? It feels like everyone's moved on from that. No one's talking about that.
Absolutely. What people are looking at, are they comfortable with the direction of the country? And a huge portion says no, they're not. They don't want to look back to that or January 6th. What they want is somebody to tell them, how are we going to fix all these problems that we have, period.
All right. What do you think about the rules of the debate? Does that change anything, or does it make it more of a level playing field?
It makes it much more interesting. The muting, letting each candidate talk. We're going to be looking at whether there's a fairness in all of it. It could absolutely change the direction of this race so far, which is pretty much 1-to-1, close.
Right, it is. And I feel like it would be good if they could just sit at a table next to each other and have the debate, a little bit more intimate and hopefully no shouting, but that's why they have the muted mics this time. All right, stay with us. Our final thoughts on the week that was when we come back.